My name is Yanuna Flores, and today I'm going to be presenting Virginia Woolf, 1882 to 1941. Virginia Woolf was a prominent British writer, author, and feminist whose innovative literary techniques made her a key figure in modernist literature. Born Adeline Virginia Stephen into a wealthy and intellectually vibrant family in South Kensington, London, Woolf grew up immersed in a rich literary and artistic environment. Her parents, Sir Leslie Stephen, a distinguished literary critic, historian, and editor, and Julia Prinsep Jackson, a renowned beauty and former model for pre-Raphaelite artists, provided a culturally, intellectually stimulating upbringing. The Stephen household was a prominent gathering place for London's intellectual elites, hosting figures such as Henry James, George Meredith, and Thomas Hardy, significantly impacting Woolf's early exposure to literary and artistic discourse. Her sister Vanessa Bell, who later became a celebrated modernist painter, profoundly influenced Virginia's artistic and aesthetic perspectives. This household and intellectual context deeply shaped Woolf's imaginative capabilities, critical thinking, and creative ambitions. Virginia's early life and influences. Woolf demonstrated a passion for writing from an early age, beginning with personal letters at the age of 5. The summers spent at Tolland House in Cornwall deeply shaped her imagination, becoming significant setting and influence for later novels, such as Jacob's Room, To the Lighthouse, and The Waves. However, her formative years were also marked by tragedy and trauma. Her mother's sudden death when she was 13 and subsequent deaths in her family had profound psychological effects. Additionally, Virginia suffered from sexual abuse by her half-brothers, experiences that deeply scarred her and contributed to recurring mental health struggles, recognized today as symptoms consistent with bipolar disorder. Despite these profound personal difficulties, Woolf's experiences at the Tolland House provided her with long-lasting memories of natural beauty, tranquility, and family unity, forming an emotional and artistic refuge that offered brief respite from the pain and turbulence of her youth. Contrasting experiences of beauty and tragedy profoundly shaped her literary voice, fueling her exploration of complex emotional and psychological landscapes in her later work. Virginia Woolf's education was informational yet extensive. She received home education in English classics and Victorian literature, guided primarily by her father, Leslie Stephen, who introduced her to influential texts and critical literary works at a young age. Her education included extensive readings in classic English literature, Shakespeare, Greek classics, and influential Victorian novelists such as George Eliot, Charles Dickens, and Thomas Hardy. This rigorous literary upbringing was complemented by philosophical discussions, debates on ethics and morality, and exposure to intellectual circles, providing a strong intellectual environment that nurtured her analytical and creative faculties. The freedom and extent of this unconventional education allowed Woolf to develop a nuanced understanding of literature's historical and cultural extents, empowering her with an ability to critically assess and creatively respond to traditional literary and social examples. Consequently, Woolf cultivated a profound critical awareness, particularly regarding gender roles and social expectations, which became central to her writing and philosophical outlook. These are some examples of the authors Virginia Woolf would be inspired by.
RDMS.
Give me life, give me life.
Virginia Woolf endured severe and recurring mental health struggles throughout her life, personal traumas, and ongoing psychological battles. Despite her literary achievements and supportive relationships, she experienced intense depressive episodes, including several suicide attempts. Tragically, her mental health deteriorated significantly in later life, culminating in her suicide by drowning on March 28, 1941, at age 59 years old. Virginia Woolf began her writing career contributing literary reviews on the Times Literary Supplement from 1905, making her initial entry into professional writing. Her insightful and perceptive critics quickly established her reputation within literary circles. Her literary career gained further momentum with her marriage to Leonard Woolf, an influential literary critic, writer, and publisher in 1912. The relationship was intellectually and creatively productive, leading them to establish the Hogarth Press in 1917. Initially operated from their dining room, the Hogarth Press became a pioneering platform for external literary works and modernist literature, playing a significant role in shaping early 20th century literary culture. The press notably published works by T.S. Eliot, Catherine Mansfield, and Sigmund Freud, alongside Woolf's pioneering short stories, essays, and novels. With her second novel, Night and Day, 1919, Woolf represented a transitional phase in her literary style, moving gradually from conventional narrative structures towards innovative narrative techniques, including early explorations of the stream of consciousness approach. This artistic shift marked Woolf's evolution towards the bold experimentation and narrative innovation that would characterize her later masterpieces. Virginia Woolf achieved literary recognition with groundbreaking modernist novels such as Miss Dalloway, 1925, To the Lighthouse, 1927, and Orlando, 1928. These works are notable for their experimental narrative techniques, intricate psychological portrayals, and profound insights into human consciousness and interpersonal relationships. Mrs. Dalloway, practically known for its innovative use of stream of consciousness narration, vividly captures the inner lives and social struggles of post-World War I Britain. To the Lighthouse further demonstrates Woolf's mastery of interior monologue and temporal manipulation, providing a heartfelt exploration of family dynamics, memory, and the passing of time. In total, she wrote 9 novels, 1 play, over 5 volumes of essays, portraits, memoirs, and reviews, more than 14 volumes of diaries and letters, and finally, 46 short stories. Virginia Woolf's lasting legacy lies in her profound influence on feminist culture and modernist fiction. She inspired many people with a stream of consciousness and women's rights. Turning our attention to Night and Day by Virginia Woolf, 1919. Night and Day is set in Edwardian London and revolves around 2 central female characters, Catherine and Mary. The novel explores their contrasting experiences, perceptions, and choices against the backdrop of the women's suffrage movement and shifting social expectations and gender roles. Catherine, from a privileged and intellectually famous family while struggling internally with her desires for autonomy and personal fulfillment. Contrast, Mary represents the emerging feminist consciousness of time, participating in suffrage activism and grappling openly with the challenges faced. Women seeking independence and purpose outside traditional roles. Personal growth and their complex emotional and psychological dynamics, illustrating the internal and external conflicts arising from social changes. Through Catherine and Mary, Woolf highlights the tension between tradition and modernity, private desires and public roles, and the evolving landscapes of women's rights, capturing a pivotal moment in social history. The novel deeply examines the theme of women's suffrage, emphasizing the shift from traditional restrictive gender roles towards greater autonomy and independence. Woolf critiques the institution of marriage, questioning whether love and marriage can coexist harmoniously. Night and Day shows Woolf's transition from traditional to early stream of consciousness, influenced by writers like Henry James, Galsworthy, and Foster. The mode in Night and Day fluctuates between romantic optimism and persuasive underlying pessimism. Woolf explores romantic ideas and aspirations while simultaneously highlighting the limitations of social pressures faced by her characters, particularly women, creating an introspective and somber atmosphere reflective of the social transformation during the Edwardian era. Imagery in Night and Day vividly captures emotional status and thematic nuances. Extensively uses symbols such as stars, sky, fire, and the river Thames to represent inner clarity, emotional freedom, passion, and reflective contemplation. The recurring theme of walking through London symbolizes the character's personal journeys, exploration of self-identity, and confrontation with social expectations. Woolf's tone captures the psychological depth and emotional complexity of her characters through detailed filmic description. This allows the reader to have an immersive experience with the book. Woolf employs significant symbolism in Night and Day, utilizing fire and stars as powerful symbols of love's intensity and transformative potential. These symbols illustrate the character's emotion with the Edwardian era. I see you everywhere, in the stars, in the river. To me, you're everything that exists, the reality of everything. This quote represents how love can profoundly alter a person's perception of reality. Woolf illustrates that intense emotions blur boundaries between the self and the external world, highlighting love's transformative power. Never are voices so beautiful as on a winter's evening, when dusk almost hides the body, and they seem to issue from nothingness, with a note of intimacy seldom heard by day. This quote highlights the quiet of winter evenings, creates a scene of intimacy and emotional depth, which is often missing during the busier daytime hours. Woolf uses the contrast between day and night to show how moments of solitude and stillness can reveal a more personal, meaningful connection with others and with ourselves. While I really don't advise a woman who wants to have things her own way to get married. This quote reflects the idea that marriage, especially in the context of the early 20th century, can require women to compromise their personal desires and independence. Woolf uses this statement to criticize the limitations placed on women, suggesting that marriage may restrict a woman's ability to fully control her own life and decisions. His eyes were bright, and indeed he scarcely knew whether they held dreams or realities, and in 5 minutes she had filled the shell of the old dream and had the flesh of life. Poe shows the contrast between fantasy and reality, suggesting that the character is torn between his idealized dream and the real life experience. Woolf uses the image of filling the shell of the old dream with the flesh of life to highlight how the passage of time or a new experience can turn an idealized vision into something more real and tangible, but also possibly more complicated. But it was then I first knew I loved you. This quote shows how the character finally understands their feelings, which is an important turning point in the story and their personal growth. Thank you.